As you know, my Model Y has just had some Prism PPF wrapping applied. Here's a little video on how they did it. I want to thank Ernie Tay at Fortified Protections in Success, Coburn, which is south of Perth, for allowing me to do the video. Ernie and his staff were very accommodating. They did my Model Y, which is blue, last week while I was away. But they got another blue Model Y in that they were doing exactly the same PPF on, which is called Prism PPF. So they kindly allowed me to shoot a few videos. So here's an idea of what's involved in applying PPF. The first thing that they need to do is obviously clean the car thoroughly, and then when they're about to wrap any particular panel, they go over each panel with basically a fine tooth comb to make sure there isn't even one speck of dust left on it. Then they spray it and cover it with this they call their install gel. Now some people I know use some soapy water, which is just as good. They use a gel based liquid and they thoroughly cover the panel with that, and this allows them then to place the film on top to move it around slightly. So there it is, it's more of a gel than soapy water. Thoroughly covered the bonnet. As you can see, the rest of the car's actually been done. They waited until I got there to do this, which was actually very, very nice of them. So once it's thoroughly covered, they'll then get the pre-cut PPF out and place it on. Now this PPF is cut out on the machine from a template, and it's basically only got about ½ an inch of clearance around the actual edges of the panel, because as you can see there is very little waste. So they unroll it, they peel off the backing, and then they'll lay it carefully on, move it around into the right position, and then they'll start the application process. So they'll also cover the underside of this with some install gel to make sure that it's easily able to be positioned in the right spot. So they place it on, and with all that gel they can move it around slightly to position it accurately. The surface of it needs to be covered with some water because they'll squeegee it out, move it around, and gradually with the squeegee get rid of all those bubbles. So they'll just make sure that it's in the right spot, get rid of all the major big bubbles. There you go, just reposition it slightly. Now they'll start initially just to pin it down in a corner with the squeegee, and then they'll start basically from the middle and work their way out to get rid of all the air bubbles and also all the install gel that was in there, which will then allow the PPF to adhere to the panel. So they'll work in a methodical manner from the inside to the out, with the surface water that they put on there. It's easy to squeegee it The squeegee just tends to go over it nice and easily without ripping it or tearing it. And they get round to the edge and finish it off. And once they're happy with that, the install gel has got to be washed off from the edges. Otherwise, as they wrap it around the edge of the panel, it's not going to stick. So it's got to be thoroughly cleaned. And then they'll start to trim. So they actually swap sides here because Ernie, the guy on the left, is right-handed and the other guy is left-handed, so it's easy for them to cut the PPF to fit around. So they leave approximately a 5mm gap. So they'll cut this carefully all the way around the edge. You see he's using his finger to keep the line nice and parallel to the edge of the panel, and they'll do that going all the way around. Then once they've gone all the way around the edge and trimmed it to the 5mm or so, it then needs to be wrapped around. Because this PPF has got a sparkly finish to it, you can't just leave it right at the very edge. It's got to be wrapped around where possible in order to make it look like it was meant to be there. So they're just continuing to wash off some of that install gel, squeegeeing it, and then they'll gradually work their way around, getting the PPF to wrap around the edge, and then it's got to stick to the underside as well. So he's even got little tweezers and his knife there for the fine tuning of the corner. They're continuing to go around, folding the edge over. Usually you don't need to do this on a lot of PPFs because the PPF is a completely clear thing. They do this on every single panel that they possibly can to get it around. Obviously some of the panels where they've got a very tight gap, you're not going to be able to, but they do try and just push it around a little bit with the squeegees so that it is a more professional finish. And having had people look at this PPF finish, the way they've done it, everybody was impressed with the quality of workmanship. And I am also very happy with the job that Ernie and his team have done there at Fortified Protections. Absolutely brilliant. They really do seem to take a lot of care. As you can see, they squeegee it over just like they did on the large area on the top. They've now got to make sure that it adheres underneath as well. And where the curve in the bonnet is, they've got to pay particular attention because it's bent over and it's curved. So it just takes a little bit of extra care to ensure a good, clean job. So when that's all finished, this car will be complete. And then they'll rinse it all off and the car will get cleaned again to make sure that it's finished off nicely. And we'll just point out here the sensors on the front and rear bumpers. They very carefully cut them around. Alright, so this is the Prism PPF wrap. You can see how sparkly and it alters the colour slightly depending upon
it looks a little bit different though.
Depending upon where the sun is in relation.
Yep,
that is pretty sparkly. Well, there you have it. That was putting the Prism PPF onto the bonnet. They previously had really scrupulously cleaned it, as I explained, and it took all up from there to the finish about 15, maybe 20 minutes, which is just for one panel. So you can see the amount of work that goes into it. The total cost of that Prism PPF for the Model Y is $6,550 all up, which is a reasonable price. So thanks very much for watching. I hope you found that interesting. Don't forget, click that like and subscribe button down below, and I'll see you all very soon.